Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Emma Crudis, and I am the Program Manager with the Community Foundation of Nova Scotia. So, the Community Foundation of Nova Scotia was asked to partner with the Strait Region Society for Children, Youth, and Families to produce the report we'll be sharing with you. But before we dive into the report, I'll give you a bit of a background into who we are. So the Strait Region Society for Children, Youth, and Families is a concerned citizen roundtable and advocacy group focused on the healthy growth, development, and welfare of children, youth, and families in Antigonish, Guysborough, Inverness, and Richmond counties. The Community Foundation of Nova Scotia is an action centre for philanthropy, and we provide the knowledge and support for communities, charities, and even private citizens to realize their individual potential and collective possibilities. We house more than 90 funds that support projects and progress in communities across the province. So first, what is Vital Signs? So Vital Signs is a community checkup conducted by community foundations across Canada. It measures the vitality of our communities and identifies significant trends in a range of areas critical to quality of life. Vital Signs reports employ a community-based research strategy in order to determine community priorities and highlight community strengths. And this is why we were particularly excited to partner with the Strait Region Society for Children, Youth, and Families on this project to be able to engage in vital conversations and find out the priorities of people living in the four communities of the Strait Region. So the report we're sharing with you today is a 36-page document taking the pulse of the Strait Region's communities. The report was developed to foster community awareness, engage readers in strengthening supportive conversations, and inspire actions that ensure all children, youth, and families can access the vital resources they need to not only survive, but to thrive. And we do this by focusing on 7 key factors. So those factors are community and belonging, economy, income, and employment, housing, food security and healthy eating, transportation and communication, health and wellness, and finally, growth and development. So first, let's take a little bit of a look at the Strait Region's communities, particularly in terms of population change. So while Canada has seen an actual increase in its population, and Nova Scotia, population has stayed about the same, all 4 communities of the Strait region have seen their population decline. And as we look ahead to the future of our communities, it's essential for us to understand both the strengths and challenges of our region and understand what we can do to help our communities move forward. So this first section of the report is community and belonging. And belonging is really a human need, just like food, water, or shelter. And these important relationships not only include family and personal friends, but also the wider groups and communities we belong to. This is a really promising piece for the Strait region because the Strait region, which is a member of the Eastern Health region, shows a really high sense of somewhat or very strong sense of community belonging, 81% in fact, which is higher than both the national and provincial rates. Like we do in each section of the report, we then offer some key action items for how we can continue to move our communities forward. So first, we suggest being there for kids in care. Second, offer support through alternative care. Third, utilize municipal services, programs, and facilities, and there are a lot of them. Fourth, make sure everyone feels at home in the Strait region. The next section of the report is economy, income, and employment. And thriving communities provide diverse opportunities for people to work, connect, and grow. And having stable income and employment help people put down roots in a community, develop personally and professionally, find the time and resources to care for their health, and invest in their families and communities. Children, youth, and families all suffer when people can't find work or make enough money. And so 2 of the pieces that we include in the report look at the industries that our community members work in, as well as our rates of unemployment. I'm not going to delve too much into those today. You can read more about that in the report, but it is useful to be able to look at some of these measures and understand, for example, that healthcare and social assistance is a very popular industry for employment in all 4 communities in our region, and also to be able to look at some of those rates of employment, unemployment, as well as people who are not in the labor force. So these are some of the key measures we look at in the report. And then again, let's look at some of those action items. So first, let's support local businesses and new business ideas. Growth is essential. Second, advocate for a living wage, which is really integral for surviving and moving towards that thriving. And third, connect our educated youth and skilled community members with growing local, meaningful employment opportunities. The next section of the report is housing. So housing is a basic human right. However, many people in the Strait region cannot find an affordable, safe, comfortable place to live and sleep. And this is one of the graphs that we include in the report that just looks at the rates of unaffordable housing by housing type. And it really shows that renters suffer the most from unaffordable housing in our communities, and just gives a bit of a sense of that breakdown. And again, let's look at some of those key action items. So first, advocate for affordable housing options in areas where people who do not own a car can get to work, school, and essential services for their families. Second, support shelters that provide protection, safety, shelter, and basic necessities to women and children breaking away from family violence. And third, assist community members in accessing financial assistance in emergency heating situations through organizations such as Energy Assist or the Antigonish Emergency Fuel Fund. Moving right along, the next section of the report is food security and healthy eating. So food security means having reliable access to sufficient quantities of affordable and healthy food. When people are food insecure, they are at a higher risk for serious growth and development, health, economic, and social problems, including learning difficulties, chronic stress, disease, depression, and social isolation. So we do in the report a bit of analysis of food bank use by age group. We see that children are way overrepresented in the use of food banks in our communities. We also talk a little bit about some of the research that's been done around food security in Nova Scotia. And Nova Scotia actually has the highest rate of food insecurity of all the Canadian provinces. We also acknowledge that rural households are especially vulnerable to food insecurity due to a lack of access to reliable transportation, which can prevent access to healthy and affordable food. And again, let's look at those action items. So first, let's understand food insecurity by learning about the National Nutritious Food Basket. And there's a bit more detail about that in the report itself. Second, support and donate to your local food bank. And third, advocate for more transportation alternatives so people in rural areas can access healthy food. And that leads us to our next section, which is transportation and communication. So many of our communities are rural and remote, and getting around can be a major obstacle. Some people in our region must travel outside their communities for everyday needs, such as employment, going to school, buying groceries, seeing a doctor, or participating in recreational activities. So when we look at modes of transportation to work, we see that the majority of our population is going by car, taking a vehicle to work, but there is a small percentage of our population that's taking a bus, that's walking, that's riding their bike to work. And that's really essential to understand and to consider how we could help move more of our communities towards those modes of transportation. And with median household incomes lower than the provincial rate in 3 of the 4 Strait counties, not everyone can afford to own a car, and lack of available and affordable transportation leads to missed employment opportunities, educational experiences, health appointments, social gatherings, and everyday activities. And in this section, we also talk a little bit about internet, because nationally 7 in 10 internet users say they would be unlikely to purchase a home in an area that didn't have high-speed internet. And as we see in the graph at the bottom of this slide, the rates of internet speeds across our region are quite a bit lower than the average download and upload speeds for the country. So these are important considerations to make when we look at how we're making our communities accessible and viable options for families. So the action items we suggest in this section are to support public transportation options in our communities. And second, to demand widespread cell phone coverage and high-speed internet access, especially in rural areas. The next section we look at is health and wellness. A community's strength and resilience depend on the physical and mental health of the people who live, work, and play there. So one of the primary issues we look at in this section is family physicians. So as of August 2019, 4,176 people of the Eastern Health Region, which as I mentioned earlier includes the Strait region, were without a family doctor. And that's really important for our communities. One of the other pieces we really look at and focus on is exercise. So getting enough exercise is an issue for the Eastern Health Region, and we see that the rates of participation in daily exercise are lower in our communities. And so it's really essential that we look at that and see how we can move that dial forward. The action items for this section include engaging in personal and family-focused regular physical activity, speaking up and engaging in efforts to recruit and retain family physicians for all community members, and calling for better supports for families coping with chronic conditions. So we're now at the final section of our report, which is growth and development. And in this section, we think it's important to talk about how thriving communities offer members of all ages abundant, affordable, and flexible opportunities to learn in a range of environments. So families, school communities, and community organizations really share that responsibility for the growth and development of all children and youth. So it's actually really promising to look at growth and development in our communities because young people and their families in the Strait region have shown a dedicated commitment to learning. The graduation rate for students in the Strait Regional Center for Education is 97%, which is actually the highest in the province. So some of the action items we put in this section are spread the word about Schools Plus and help families connect with a range of services and programs, including mentoring, social work, homework support, and justice services. And acknowledge, celebrate, and engage with parents, families, schools, and community to provide the foundation of growth and development for all. So that actually brings me to the end of my presentation today about the Strait Region's Vital Signs Report. If you do have any questions about the process of the report or any of the resources that were used for the report, please do feel free to contact me. My email address and phone number are provided in the slides there. Also, to view and share a digital copy of the report or to check out the source list, you can visit CFNS's website and look under the Vital Signs section there to find those documents. Thank you so much for joining me today and enjoy the report. Bye.